Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here profiling some Kentucky Derby contenders. And speaking of that big race on the first Saturday in May, you want to check out our Kentucky Derby packages that are now on sale at DRF.com. You can save up to 39% by getting your PPs for the Oaks and the Derby in one of these packages. And you'll also receive betting strategies, a player's guide, clock reports for both days. Just go to shop.drf.com to learn more about Kentucky Derby packages. Mike, let's focus on Kentucky Derby contender Sovereignty, who feels like he's going to be one of the top choices heading into that big race in early May. Maybe the second choice behind Journalism, who's expected to be the clear-cut favorite in this race. And when you watch his replay so far this year, it's easy to understand why. We'll take a look at him winning the Fountain of Youth when he returned from the layoff to win his first prep in early March. And maybe not beating the toughest field this day, but I think a lot of people expected him to need this race off the layoff based on his training coming in here and the fact that he hadn't really run that fast as a 2-year-old, even though he had been visually impressive. But I think we saw this horse's greatest attribute in this Fountain of Youth, just that relentless late run. He never stops coming at you. And yes, he lost his most recent start in the Florida Derby, Mike, but didn't really feel like he lost any of his stature in defeat that day.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. He did take a defeat in his most recent start, his final prep, but he ran fine in that race. This is a horse who's been good right from the start, David. You can go back and watch any one of his races as a 2-year-old, and you could see that he could run, and you could also sort of get the idea that just more distance just seems like it's a really good thing for this horse. He stays. He's a late runner, but he's not a total plotter. Like, he's not the kind of horse who's going to be out the back door in his races. And he's come back with two, I think, really, really solid efforts so far as at the Rio. You mentioned the win that we just watched at the Fountain of Youth. You know, maybe it wasn't the strongest field in the world, but the runner-up River Thames and the fourth finisher in their Burnham Square, they came back and they ran first and third in the Grade 1 Bluegrass in their next start. So it's not like he wasn't beating anybody in that.
And Mike, I think there actually are some positive takeaways from that Florida Derby last time, because you mentioned the fact that this horse doesn't have to be out the back door early. And what I saw in the early stages of that race was a horse who broke from the far outside post, and Manny Franco, who was subbing in for the injured Junior Alvarado that day, had to make some decisions. And he put this horse in behind runners, and he really grabbed hold of the bit, even racing through kickback, following to Pan Street into the race. And that's the kind of trip that you want to see a horse get in the Derby when they're coming from off the pace, that they're in the bridle and following right on the horse's tail in front of them, because it allows them to make those moves through traffic when the holes do open up. So I thought that was a positive sign for Sovereignty, even though he lost the race. And Mike, it definitely also is a positive sign that he's got an impressive victory at Churchill Downs here and that in the Street Sense last year, and he couldn't have looked much better in that race.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. It's not something that I always remember to take into consideration, but horses that have already proven that they can handle that Churchill Downs main track, that's something that you at least want to take into consideration. He looked really good winning that Street Sense too. That was a race that set up great for him with a solid pace in front of him. And you know, if they're going to go fast in this Kentucky Derby, this horse is going to be running at the end if he can get the clean trip. And I like the way that you laid out that Florida Derby last time too, David, where he did look comfortable sitting behind horses, and that could really be key for this horse.
He's just going to have to run a little bit faster if he's going to bridge the gap between the expected favorite, Journalism, and himself. Journalism's top buyer is a 108. Sovereignty has only gotten up to a 95 so far, but he does feel like a horse who is at least moving in the right direction. That's why he's garnering support in the early conversations ahead of the Kentucky Derby. So those are our thoughts on Kentucky Derby contender Sovereignty. We'd love to hear from you, though. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you think of this potential top player for the Run for the Roses.